Ango is a form that we use. It's traditional, goes back in ancient Japan and the Soto lineage to sit for a long period of time. In our situation, we've modified it a little bit to be the whole month of February. This is our third year of doing the whole month of February, 28 days or 29 days, where we do nothing but sit for 8 hours a day for that full time, 4 hours in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the evening, and do very little, if any, sutra chanting. We just concentrate on Shikan Zazen. I invite everyone to come and do this together. It's important to do this to train your mind, and you may need the support of Sangha. Sangha may need the support of your presence. So please do that. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're at. Welcome to this Dharma talk and to the 8th day of Ango. I want to invite all of you just to participate in Ango. Some of you here are participating. It's a very good practice as not only the sitting practice of meditation, but as to join a community, small as we are, but join a community of people that are very, very serious about practicing meditation. It's about Sangha, sitting in the presence of other people. This is called satsang, whether it's the guru or the Sangha or the teaching, 3 jewels. Sit in the presence of that. I'm not saying you can't do that in your own bedroom or your own space at home, but sitting with other people is very, very important and very supportive, not only to you, but also to us, to this community. We do this every day, no matter what. Now, that doesn't mean if you don't get sick, you're not going to stay home. But if you do, or if you can't make it, if you're tired, then that totally works. Nothing to obey, nothing to accomplish, but there's certainly something to see. And this practice is a way of seeing this clearly for yourself. You don't have to rely on anyone's opinion. You may have to rely on your teacher, your guru, your guide, your mentor for a while. But if it's a true teacher, he, she, or they will help you liberate yourself from any reference point, including them. If they're trying to get you to do what they want or order you around, they might have good intentions, but it's not a complete understanding. They might have good intentions of helping you. Relative help is not ultimate help. Ultimate help breaks all the rules, doesn't follow any codes, may have to leave every kind of reference point. That being said, time to blow my nose. I'll silence this so you can't. Did you hear me? No, good. It worked. Technology. So today's talk, Dharma talk, is titled This, This, is not, capital N. This is not. This is not. It's this, but it's not. This is not. This is red, blue, solid, fancy, moving, slowing down, getting larger, getting smaller, getting more emotional, getting less emotional, getting more intelligent, getting less intelligent, on and on and on. It's just an astonishing array of what other. It is a display, it is a matrix of otherness. It is so incredibly convincing. It's got us right by our short hairs. It's got us. But all you have to do is look at the way in which you're attached. You do not have to become unattached. You may have to listen to another teacher that'll try to get you to be detached or don't be so this or so that. I don't say any of that. You should be outrageous and crazy and emotional and angry and resentful as you are, whatever shows up. You might not have any of that. Some people have intense resentment. Some people think they're addicted. So what does that do? Thinking you're addicted perpetuates the addiction. It keeps it going because ego, the self-centered part of the consciousness that is a self, thinks it's a self, thinks it's somebody, needs a credential, and it will use the most outrageously negative thing to just continue to be somebody, including blame you for everything that they feel like. If they have a negative feeling, and this can be a person that's been on the path for half a century, they still may be trapped by their feelings and emotions. You don't have to do that. It's ordinary. It's nothing special. And you may have to do something that's nothing special. It's very ordinary to be able to see it, which is what? Sit down, sit symmetrical, have all the senses open. The attitude is just receive and watch what moves. And in that way, you'll see what this is. I'm going to read a little bit, a couple of notes that I had here. Appearance emptiness. This is not. That is why we watch and observe what appears without adding, without comment. This is not. So that we are aware that this is not. Though when it shows up, it is unreal. It is an illusion. It's a word that helps us use the word illusion, but even the word illusion is unreal. It is complete, thorough, anuttara, samyak sambodhi, complete, unexcelled, going no further enlightenment, because it goes to the end of relative truth and completely tumbles all through emptiness. Which what happens? Nothing happens. That's the tumbling through emptiness. Nothing occurs. Ordinary mind, Tamagishapa. I'm drawing from everything I can to help you using precepts, ideas, concepts, structures in consciousness, teaching words and phrases to help you see that it's not words and phrases. There has to be an arrow pointing. There has to be a finger that points at the moon. If you look where the finger is pointing, you just see the moon. You don't see that finger anymore. Unless it's time to help somebody, then you might recreate that finger based on the way in which you were taught. Possibly. If you happen to have a teacher. Very difficult, very challenging. We can get 50 miles down the road and suddenly we just have to go back, or we have to take a break. We have to go off into the rest area, and we spend the rest of our life in a rest area that we don't know is a rest area, going in circles, chasing the proverbial tail. Don't do that. Go right into the darkness, right into the emptiness, right into the pain and suffering, right into the First Noble Truth, and suffer, voluntarily suffer. Do it for others. If you can't do it for yourself, most people can't do it for themselves. They can do it for a while, and then finally I just can't. I can't do this anymore. Because you can't do this anymore. This is why we have the Bodhisattva vow, so you don't have to do it anymore. The vow does it for you. It's like riding an invisible horse. Not like it is an invisible horse. And as soon as you receive that vow, the vow is everything. The Buddha nature is everything. It's everything. It's everything. You can see that. If you don't see it, you're not wrong. You're not to blame. You're not a failure. There's no such thing as a failure. Once you get on this path, there's no failure. You're on the path. It might be 3 lifetimes from now when you realize it. You might have to go off into several rest areas, but get back on the path. Return. Use the structures, the forms. Use as we do. We come in here every day and we go through these empty forms, but the emptiness of the form, the 108 gongs that we're doing every morning, the first 10 minutes we're sitting, we just flood this room with sound. And what the practitioners here do, just sit and receive. You're actually training yourself to receive by practicing on the sound. Receive the sound, receive the sound. Those sounds are not different from every thought, every emotion, every memory, and every cogitation that goes on in your mind. They're not separate, nor are they the same. You need to see that. You can see that. Don't believe me. I'm just here to point at something that I've been looking at for some time now, that I was helped by my teachers to what? Stop looking at that and look here. So in order to see that, you have to see this. If you see this, there is no such thing as this and that. As Nagarjuna said 2,000 years ago, not this, not that, not both, not neither. The fourfold negation of that great sage in regard to. I don't actually know what I'm saying. I hear what I say, but I don't know in the sense that I know I am sitting here thinking what is the best thing for you to hear. How can I say this? I don't think things up. I rarely think unless I stub my toe. Then I think, clumsy fool, stop kicking things. So I'm not free of thinking. It's just that the thinking no longer runs this. Thinking is just a part of it's like hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. It's just you just receive thoughts. No one thinks them. If you think you think, I don't think so. I don't think so. Take another think. As Trungpa Rinpoche said, I first heard him say this over 50 years ago. He said, first thought, best thought. There was a book of his poems with, I think it was called First Thought, Best Thought. Is that true? Yeah. Yes. I was gifted that book once in the 1970s. And I got so mad one day I ripped it up. You don't have to improve. Lighten up on yourself and allow yourself to be who you are. You might have to go through a lot of crap. You might have to put your fist through a few walls. You might have to scream at your partner. Might have to have indigestion. You might. But that's just relative truth. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt or doesn't isn't scary. It's just unreal. So therefore, no more war forever. No matter how much war comes towards you. This doesn't mean that you do the opposite. You lay down and take it. If somebody brings you war, fight with them. But make sure it's war, not just an excuse to fight. You know how you do that? Consciousness, just awareness. Awareness without a center, without a fringe, just receiving. The way you train yourself to do this is you sit still and watch, observe, receive the movement. And the other word I've been putting in lately is relax. Good luck. I'll take a few questions if there are some. You know.
The other day when we were sitting in here, you gave some instruction that started with watching what arises, and I don't remember the exact, but then you said, now you know what pointing out instruction
Yes.
Is everything you say pointing out instruction?
Of course. If you're a student, then you receive. If you function as a student, which is this is all the sitting practice of meditation, shikantaza, zazen, shamatha vipassana, shine laktang, creation completion practice, it's just about receiving. Just receive. It's just about you're just a student of everything. You're receiving everything. Everything is your teacher. That's pointing out. Welcome.
Shui Wu Vowing. Can you explain how the mind doesn't produce anything when it seems like when I formulate thoughts, that's producing something?
I can't simply put, that's part of the illusion. We think we're thinking. So that's why I can say, I don't think so. Because I'm not worried about the thinking and not what I think and what I don't think. I'm not concerned about right thoughts, bad thoughts, good thoughts. But most people are, and I was for quite a while. So if you just receive, then the thoughts that you have will come out of dependent origination. They come out of the basic teaching of the Buddha and come out of a basic understanding of the Yogacara teachings, which is everything is consciousness only, mind only. It's just mind. There's no one there. There's just mind. Isn't it amazing? Look how amazing it is. Everything human form can show up. Men, women, children, ducks, birds, dogs, can show up and disappear, show up and disappear, but fundamentally nothing shows up and nothing disappears. That which is real does not vanish because it hasn't appeared. It's the appearance that causes the disappearance. It's the polarity. It's so, and thinking that you think or thinking that you're generating the thoughts. Isn't it interesting that you can have nerve endings that touch and you don't think you're creating the tabletop? You feel like it's there and you're here receiving it. So that's why the practice is to just receive it until you see that you are that tabletop, until you see that you are that, not you, the personality, the person, but consciousness only. You are just consciousness only. Everything is broadcasting the Dharma everywhere. Not separate, not separate, not separate. Not everything is saying not separate. Everywhere you look, this is why the teaching in the jewel mirror samadhi, Hokyo Zamai, is saying that everything is preaching the Dharma. More,
Thank you.
sir.
Milka bowing. Think is another think. This is not. What makes it not?
Paraphrase yourself. Simply, very simple. What do you want to know? Because that's what I'd like to respond to.
When there's another think. Is
Like
this?
you've got another thing coming.
Yes.
What your mom said.
I don't know what she said.
Go ahead.
The next think is not. Not. I'm trying to make it into a question sound.
It's good enough. I can say that there is no next. There's just this, and even that is suspect from the point of view of seeing it's an illusion. So even the so-called now is also an illusion. There is no now. There's no past. There's no future. There's no before. There's no after. There's no life. There's no death. These are illusions. I'm not trying to convince you of it. I'm trying to say it in such a way that you might be inspired to check it out. Literally sit down and find out yourself.
In the title of this talk, the is not part, what is that pointing at?
I think I said this is not, wasn't that? This, comma, little break there. I could have put a semicolon in there, but I don't know what the grammar is for the rules for a semicolon. Did you?
Yeah, no good there.
He said no good there. I like the way you said that. Poor grammar. It's good to use poor grammar to correct grammar. Is that your motivation behind that? Good. I can go back to it.
Thank you.
This guy's making more sense. What is it?
Is
This.
not.
Comma, is not. It's just saying that this thing in front of me visually, this odor I'm smelling, or this thought I'm having, or this emotion or this memory is not. Using the word not, neti, as it says in the Upanishads, the ancient text from India before the Buddha. The Chandogya Upanishad, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad specifically points to that. How do I know that? I don't even have a memory for anything. I can't remember what your name was. Isn't it Mike?
Close.
It is now. But I only remember what shows up dependently risen. So it isn't like I'm not scholarly at all. I'm far from scholarly. I don't know what's going on anywhere. But I know what this is, and it's not an actuality in the sense of being real, but it's an actuality, knock, 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 in the sense of being an illusion that is very, very brittle and sharp and dull and lively and exuberant and effulgent and all the other, are those called verbs? No, they're adjectives, right? You're afraid of getting in trouble. Good place to get in trouble.
I'm sticks with away from you.
Yeah, it sticks with. If you're a long ways away, I can still reach you with this one. But if you're real close, I can reach you with this one.
I'm really bad. You can hit me with that black
And
one.
if you run away, I can throw that vase or ikebana at you. What else could we do? Ah. Want to hear something? Listen. Can you guys hear that? How about this? You hear that one? No? Jill, straighten up. Yes, that's your sister. Okay. Tired of all this serious stuff. Let's get back to the fun things. Any more questions? Yes, Kanjima.
Conjure bowing. Looking at the monks and seeing the projections that are flying on them, that to me is like an obvious, this is not who they are. This is not what they're doing. It just seems like there's a ton of projections from the press and from people.
The monks who were in the peace walk,
Yeah, they're
walking
doing-
for peace.
Mhm.
Yes, the Theravadins. Yes, go ahead.
So that is a relative, this is not.
Yes,
And yet you're pointing to ultimate, that
Yes.
even our listening or seeing what they're doing and people's reaction to it.
what is your question? I'm following a little bit what you're saying. What is the question?
How does seeing the unreality
Yes,
of reality help us see the unreality ultimately?
just by seeing that there isn't, it takes a while because we have to watch the way we grasp, the way we buy into the illusion. The people are marching, or it's just they may be awakened, they may not be. From the ultimate point of view, they're all awake. Everyone here is awake. The most terrible person in the world is awake. They just don't know it, and they may cover it up with heaps of debris, of otherness, of confusion, passion, aggression, ignorance, hope. They may torture other people to keep from seeing that there is no solid person there. And that's all dependently risen, even though there's separate lifetimes. Consciousness as that shows up in a lifetime is not separate from every other lifetime that particular aspect of consciousness has appeared in a particular body form 3 centuries ago and on and on. So coming back to the situation as I perceive your question, those monks it's just an expression of their understanding. It's just an expression. And they see the chaos in the country, and they could have just as easily sat in their monastery or their wherever it was, meditation hall, and practiced. But somebody was inspired and said, let's walk. We would like peace. We know that when we sit here, there's just peace. You know that when you sit here, there's just peace. Doesn't mean warfare doesn't come and go, but the basic situation is peace. Otherwise, you couldn't see the warfare. Non-dual, not two. Advaita, not two. So all they're doing that's an expression for them. What other people project onto them, they get contaminated by the Buddha's Dharma. They don't even know it. They're just contaminated by it. Seeing those monks not march, but walk. What is it? How many hundreds of miles they're walking? Long ways from Texas to, aren't they going to the capital? Yes. Did I get close to what you're asking about? Something else?
Conjure bowing, it's that, I guess that dichotomy of otherness
Yes.
that is just, it's hard to maybe identify with ICE people that are working for ICE, but we could potentially identify with the people that are turning up and watching the monk, this
Yes.
monks walk. Just that dichotomy of otherness, and you're pointing out the otherness that we're looking at in our own minds.
Yes.
And it seems like that contrast.
In the illusion, there isn't anything but contrast. But the ultimate understanding is anything that looks like it's over there that is contradicting something that's over there are not separate. This is why this comes together. Ultimate understanding, relative understanding to come together. Confusion and wisdom come together and are co-emergent. They come out together. If you see what it is, it's the ego can't live as a separate entity there. Ego is there, but you see it's unreal. So you don't care how you feel. Because you know that everything that arises in consciousness is dependent on everything else that arises in consciousness because it is an illusion, it's unreal. But it's an incredible stage play and very convincing. Most people believe their part, act it out, and hold grudges against others, sometimes for lifetimes. Sometimes only for 3 weeks or 30 years. And if you don't have I don't know this absolutely, of course, but it's if you don't have some kind of an awareness practice where you investigate what comes up, then you're blinded by ignorance. You're blinded by your grasping, passion, blaming, aggression, fighting with things. You're blinded by seeing your true nature, which is the old words that have been around forever. The Buddha nature, awakened. The nature of reality is being awake to it, and you are awake. Your true nature is nothing but consciousness. Your relative nature could show up anywhere. A palm tree in Sarasota, Florida. More.
Conjure bowing, I want to do one more round.
Good.
In that these monks walking, no one really knows who they are, and they're projecting on, a romantic notion. So
Yes,
there's
that's romantic.
just so many layers of unreality. And
Yes.
today you're pointing at everything that shows up, including what seems so subtle in our own minds as unreal.
If you're sitting in front of this teacher, you're ready to hear this. The people that are looking at the monks are not ready to hear this. They're not going to suddenly say, "Oh, there's a Buddhist monastery in Battle Creek, maybe, and I live in Ceresco or I live in Kalamazoo or Lansing, or I can just go over there." No, they don't see it as the same thing. They wouldn't connect with it. That I'm not saying somebody might not connect. I think we have had a little bit of outreach in that area, but not much. But different situations, still Buddha Dharma, still Buddhism, monks walking. You follow it?
Mhm.
This is people that are observing that are not practicing awareness. They're stimulated, heightened. It's a way of connecting with the Buddha Dharma on a very subtle level. That may cause some of those lifetimes of those people that are observing those or are magnetized by those and are drawn into, even seduced by what those monks are doing. It may affect their life, probably will in some way. There's lots of examples of that. When was the first time you heard about Buddhism?
30 years ago, at a silent retreat in Colorado, St. Benedict's in Snowmass. I meditated with Buddhists.
So we all have a little story like that with different kinds of dynamics. Mine was just seeing a Buddha as an incense burner when I was 7 or 8. And something about that was magnetizing to me in the Woolworths. Maybe it was Kresge's, or it could have been McClellan's. There were 3 dime stores or 5 and dimes in downtown Battle Creek in the what was that, 40s, 50s, early 50s, late 40s. Further question there? Further question here at all before I go to Zoom? Yes, sir.
Chokodawa.
Okinawa.
In the title, this is not. Do we need the is to see the not?
Yes, you need to look at at appearance. This is why I mentioned appearance emptiness. Things appear, but they're empty of what they appear, of the appearance. You're empty of any substantiality. There's nothing there. There's the dynamic that shows up as the matrix of otherness, convincing. Most people live their life, billions of people are living their life, believing their lives and thinking that their children belong to them, and ownership everywhere. We don't go the other way and get rid of that and become, atomic socialists or something. No, we don't do that. We might do some version of trying to help others and work with others and support others, but it might come out of, rather than coming out of structure that we adhere to or create. It might just come out of our individual situation, looking across the hallway. That person needs our help. We're going to help them. That person has a cardboard sign in the street. We're going to help, turn our life over to them, but we help them. Very simple, ordinary, just has no past or future to it. It's just that very moment. There's no such thing as a past and a future. And fundamentally, there's no such thing as a moment, because that's an illusion too. More?
Chocolate bowing. Does the is not also apply when we're looking at our kind of our own mind, our own identity?
What? What?
Does the is not help us see our identity or lack thereof?
What?
I don't know.
Don't stop. I'm not. Are you?
Maybe.
Say that again. Not maybe, but the question.
Does the is not part of the title?
Is not. The title was is not. That was the second part. And the first part was
This.
this. Now, what's your question? Is the is not part is the is not part of the title?
How we see our identity or lack thereof?
Yes. Well, it took a while to get to it. What did you discover on the way? There's only one response to that. No, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Thank you for indulging me. Do you have a further question?
Chocolate bowing. It's one time I texted you sadness and you texted back thusness. Is this part of that title the thusness?
Yes. Thus, just Tathagata means one who comes thusly. Tathagata, another name for the Buddha. It's one who comes without a past, without a future. Thus, it's just thus, suchness. Suchness doesn't have it's just a word that I think the Sanskrit is tatata. Are you familiar with that? No, I think so. How if someone sees this, if anyone sees this, if you see this, you'll be speechless unless you have students, and then you'll find some way of pointing to it, and you realize what a failure you are. You never can really point to this, and you see people keep looking for an answer to this. There is no answer, because the answer is the question. I'm not trying to be psychologically clever here. It's just true that you won't have any more questions. You see what this is? There are no questions. There's just this. There's no question about it. You see what it is, and not in the way of an answer. You see that you're not separate from anything. This is possible for all of you, whether you're in this room or you're on Zoom or you've never heard of this teaching before. Someone in Sedona, Arizona, not listening to this, never will listen to this, never knows any of us, or never knows anything about this teaching, and doesn't even know anything about Buddhism. It is possible for them to awaken to their true nature. As I once said many years ago to Marvin Casper, the one who edited Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, when I met him in Chicago in the early 70s. When I see what this is, what Rinpoche, mentioned Rinpoche's name, what Rinpoche is pointing to, Buddhism disappears. That was the beginning of a really long, difficult path. It's been difficult right up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Still difficult. The suffering, the First Noble Truths did not go away. What does happen is the polarity of it, of someone who feels that way. No, there's just the suffering. Then the suffering is not separate from anyone, whether they're in Minneapolis, Detroit, Michigan, or the Gaza Strip. You're not separate from any of that. If you think otherwise, then you may have to run to there to save them. If you think you're separate from them. Very, very interesting area. I'm open for any kind of question in that area. You have one?
Erlon Bowing. Just the fact that, like what you said, that if you see what this is, Buddhism that disappears,
Yes.
makes me want to ask, can we hold too tight to Buddhism where we won't wake up with it?
Hold too tight to anything. It needs to be a form that you observe, not a form that you obey. If you have a form that you obey, then you're trying to live up to some kind of a standard. Teaching says, I don't know, but don't set up standards. But if you do set up standards, then realize that that's a standard you're relating to rather than some kind of ultimate truth or something. That's why there's so much difficulty with ethics, because we need some kind of ethical guidelines for the whole society. Of course, it's when you obey them that you're just covering it up. You start obeying something, it's going to reverse on you as soon as you find out the nature of gravity. Go ahead.
Erlon Bowing. You've shared something like Trungpa Rinpoche said something about how in our culture, we're probably going to meet Buddhism through like psychology, because it's a little different. Do you agree with that?
Well, a little bit. It's meet it all kinds of ways. You might meet it, maybe the first time you heard about Buddhism is all the terrible news that comes out, all the gossipy stuff about terrible Buddhist teachers. Maybe that's the first time you even heard about it. Or through psychology or through therapy or possibly 12, there's a Buddhist 12-step programs about using the same structure, the 12-step program, to also include meditation and study of Buddhism to some extent. That's been going on. I think that started in the 70s. At least I was aware of it back then. More about that?
Erlon Bowing, just as the monastery moves forward over the years, we're receiving a Japanese and a Tibetan lineage, and we're even wearing some of those clothes. I'm just curious if there's any of like our culture, like American, or like what Order of Immediate Light means.
Well, you're here. I was born here in this culture, raised, you were raised in Ohio. I was raised in Michigan. They tried to raise me, it didn't work. But we're not separate from this. And if you haven't noticed, I'm sure you have noticed that there's cultural things that we bring right from the Japanese approach, Soto Zen, and we bring from the Kagyu tradition, from the Nyingma tradition, from the Shambhala tradition. All of these are included. This is why I created the Order of Immediate Light. So it doesn't, so that we don't have any kind of evaluation coming out of those. We say, yes, we use those. We don't line up and say, well, you can't do this. You can't have this kind of an altar. We have a Chinese Buddha here, a huge one on a Japanese, in a Japanese Soto Zendo. And we also don't sit on tans. There's all kinds of things that are different here. Our whole structure for our sutra chanting is something that I looked at, having done that for quite a bit, and just kind of redesigned the whole thing. And more about that if you haven't.
Erlon Bowing, I think maybe resonating with Kondrama's area, where people will have ideas and they already have, like, this is Buddhism, they know what it is, but we're using Buddhism to point at the truth. It's almost like a secondary thing. Was it Meister Eckhart said, like, if God and the truth split ways, he'd let God go?
Yes.
Is there a split with Buddhism and the truth like that?
Somewhat. You can follow Buddhism. Maybe that's what you're getting. You can follow the articles and the provisional teachings to such an extent that you just lock yourself into the provisional teachings, and you won't go any further because it's just too risky if a consciousness that is wrapped up in a self, albeit a highly ethical Buddhist monk or practitioner. If you run into any difficult areas, you just return to the more dependable areas, more relative structure. Buddhism needs some kind of stair steps, some kind of footsteps to get towards the ultimate truth. This is what the vows are about and all of that. More in that area if you haven't.
Erlon Bowing, it seems because your approach is so unique and we're using Buddhism, it almost sets us up for
You mean special?
yes.
No, unique. Go ahead.
It's almost like we're setting ourselves up for a lifetime battle of explaining how we're not that kind of Buddhist to people, where we could have just like made a new religion or done something different.
You don't have to explain anything. You respect people's confusion. Do not explain, don't justify, don't explain anything. I mean, you might find yourself teaching the Dharma and look at the audience you have. The audience I have here and on the screen are people who are ready to hear this teaching. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. It's a relative situation that shows up without showing up. It's also ultimate at the same time. Nothing's actually occurring. So if someone comes and wonders about this or about Buddhism or how we're doing things differently, not that you couldn't say a little bit about it, but less is better. Say, well, our teacher, say if I a while from now when I'm gone, I will be passed on because I'm old. But if someone asks about this, just say, well, we had a teacher who had a Tibetan Lama. I had a Vajra master for a teacher, and I had a Japanese Zen master. And then not only those, but also combining everything in this culture that I understand about how people in this culture work with a consciousness, including my own practice that I've developed of opening the eye mind, how to empower the eye consciousness to see what's in front of you instead of have it all contaminated with thoughts, judgments, opinions, conclusions. A process or an awareness practice for training yourself to your consciousness to see what that is. Empower the visual consciousness to put it in a relative way, be in charge. That's what I've been doing since 1960s, even before I met Rinpoche. Was working on that. So you don't have to explain, but now if someone asks you a question, it would depend on that question, it would depend on that person, how they're presenting themselves, everything from how often they scratch their head, not counting, but I'm saying that kind of a gesture. There's all kinds of understanding, not information, all kinds of understanding. I'm not asking you or anyone here to interpret somebody, this meaning they're closed off and this meaning they're tired, or this meaning, don't go leave what you see for what it means. Leave that up to the psychologists and all of the other people trying to figure things out. You don't have to figure out anything. You don't have to know anything. If you disagree or if you feel otherwise, or you think that I'm full of sausages, then do something else. You don't have to be here. I won't get any more clear than I am today. I can state it fundamentally. And it's up to you to continue. I will be here every day to encourage you to keep going. But what I'm saying, I can't become more clear than say everything you look at is unreal. And the only reality it will have is to see in the illusion that you are what you're looking at. Consciousness, awareness, subjectivity, objectivity, not two different things. That's how the illusion shows up as something other. When you see that it's actually not other, it's just consciousness. And then the illusion becomes, it's like everything turns to jello. No, probably not jello, but something like that. Everything turns to a rainbow. Very, very shape-shifty, but very, very dependable. You can depend on rainbows. They don't have any, the rainbow is something that comes out of a very subtle form of relative truth. This comes together, that comes together, and this comes together. And they magically provide us with this tremendous teaching device called a rainbow. It's been used in lots of places politically and probably should be. Are there questions online? Go ahead. I see your hand up. Turn your mic on. Okay. I don't read American Sign Language, but if so, no question. Okay. Someone else? Let me see your hands like this, and then I can take it from there if you do that. Jishin.
Jihin bowing. You gave us this morning during the meditation a short teaching on receiving emptiness at this moment, and I was sitting and trying to understand it, and then the question came: am I covering emptiness?
No. What you just described is emptiness. That is emptiness. Further question, Jashin?
Thank you. You also use the word nothing special. Receiving at this moment, what we are receiving is emptiness, nothing special. Are we making things special when we name them? Bowing.
A little bit. Somewhat. But we need to name to function in the illusion. It isn't like you're in the illusion and you're just gonna lay back and be swamped by everything, never eat anything or never go to the restroom and wear tattered clothes. Not that you couldn't approach it that way. People do some places. But just function, just continue to function, continue to move this way, move that way, put on your raincoat when it's raining. You function with the relative truth that's happening, which includes how people are treating you, receive how people are treating you without lashing out. And to do that, you may have to lash out in order to see the self-centeredness as it arises as you. You may have to do something. I'm not authorizing you to punch people, but you may have to do some of that depending on the karma that arises as your style, your personality, your path in life may involve some kind of just working with that in a very direct way that could seem like failure. It might look like other people might accuse you of being, you shouldn't be angry. Aren't you a meditator? Don't let people do that to you. When I say don't let them, let them. When I say don't let them, what I'm actually saying is realize that people are reacting to what they see and you're just being who you are. I'll say it again. People react to what they see, but if you're training your mind, you may have to just be genuine. And some of that may have some difficulty showing up around it, that people are magnetized into pointing at you and blaming you because you're the bad guy. You shouldn't have said that. You should have said this. And you might even turn to them and say, I'm sorry that that's difficult for you. But you don't follow up with some kind of a justification. I'm just being genuine. Don't do it. Respect their confusion. How do you do that? By respecting your own confusion. You can do that. It's possible. Not easy. Especially difficult if there's no strong mind training. Try to get in a few hours a day if you can. Get in 2 minutes. Teaching I gave recently was a TMI, 2-minute intention. Sit down, strike the bell, sit there for 2 minutes. That was 20 seconds, you were wondering. Sit there, train the intention to sit there. And then at the end of that 2 minutes, strike the bell again and get up and leave. And maybe not meditate, maybe not sit down till that evening, then TMI again, then next morning TMI again. And then maybe, Thursday afternoon, it might occur to you, I could sit here for an hour or two. I think I'll do that. Sit down and then do the intention. When you do the TMI, don't let the TMI leak over into some kind of longer sit. Keep it. If you sit TMI and you want to sit longer, then end the TMI and go to the restroom or get a cup of coffee or some tea or go out and look out your back porch and look at the things you need to move to the back porch and put in the garage. Do a little bit of that stuff and then come back and then sit your 2-hour sit or your 2 hours and 45 minutes. Or your 20 minutes, but leave that TMI very clear, very strong form that you can observe. And you can observe it with your mind, with your thoughts, with your intention, and with your body. And what happens if you do that, there's not much room for ego. Ego can't get much credit. It loves to get credit out of sitting. I sat for 2 hours today. And that all goes right into the ego bank, and it's storing it all up as proof that you're a good meditator. Don't bullshit yourself. It's nothing special, but if you see it, it's completely spectacular.
Ian Claiborne,
Yes,
is the explanation just more ego language?
yes. Don't put a point in explaining. I mean, I do some of that here, but that's what I'm doing. I'm a Dharma teacher, so I'm explaining some.
Ian Claiborne is also not explaining ego language?
If there's some kind of a agenda about not explaining, just not explaining doesn't have any credentials. It's just you just don't do it. And if you're the way in which you don't do it is you're on receive. You're receiving what's happening out here in the apparent out there, receiving what's happening on the apparent in here. And this one may seem like confusion or conflict or curiosity or any kind of thing out here. And what happens in here may just rise as a disappointment or confusion or not knowing what to do next. Just receive it. Be a failure. Because quite often that's what you might need to, rather than try to cover up the failure with some kind of micro explanation of why it's okay for you to function this way. Just fail. Trungpa Rinpoche named the Kagyu lineage the mishap lineage. And why did he do that? I don't know. I never chatted with him about it, but that's how I would say it's when things go wrong, you just receive that as part of the teaching, part of the lineage, part of your path, instead of trying to get away from the negativity. He certainly didn't try to get away from his karma. He was completely genuine, 100%. I know he has an outlandishly terrible reputation, but that's because of the culture we're in. That had all happened in Tibet. He would just be a crazy wisdom guru. That doesn't justify anything. I'm not here to justify. Am I? Am I trying to convince you that I'm not here to justify? Is there 15 more questions? Okay, just Ian, you have 15 or one? One, okay.
Ian Bowing, can confusion itself be confused with our assumptions about someone or ourselves being confused?
Oh yes, it's a double back. It's always doubling back on itself and reconfusing and making the confusion be. Yes, Trungpa Rinpoche called that, if I'm understanding your question, called it double negativity. We've had the first confusion, and then we add more on to that. That was the first aggression, and then we get aggressive about the simple one is we get really mad at somebody, and then we're mad at ourselves for getting mad. So it keeps doubling back. We're not responsible for the first anger. That's why it's so important to sitting practices of meditation, so you can be responsible for the causes and conditions of pratitya samutpada, the dependent origination that rises out of your particular appearance as a human form in terms of anger. Instead, we try to cover that up and become a person who doesn't get angry. Instead of being responsible, the ability to respond, responsibility, the ability to respond or receive what something is. That's how you respond. You look at it, response. You receive it, response. And you don't necessarily outflow onto everything and blame everything. And you don't outflow backwards or do what you were referring to there, is to come back and confuse the confusion. More?
So is a lot of what we call confusion actually just assumptions layered on top of what is arising?
It looks like it, doesn't it to you? Yeah.
Yes.
Looks like it. And what I would say, a lot of people see that. A lot of people who are psychologists, therapists, and I'm not taking anything away from people who are in service to others to help people work with their mind stream and with their mental issues and so on. By all means, help others, however you're able to. I'm just saying it is not awareness in the ultimate sense. It's about trying to take someone and change them or fix them. And some people, that's all we can do. We help them where they're at. We meet them where they're at, and that should be done. But to see completely what you've just described, and we've been working together here to talk about, you don't do anything about it. Again, I'm always coming back with it again, or unless it's manifesting as something that's going to be destructive to you or to them, then you might, no, don't jump off that bridge, or don't hit me with that club, or else, yeah, or else. A bunch of else's in there. Elsie. More? Ian. Okay, is there anyone else here on the big
Can I ask a
plateau?
question?
Did you get your mic?
Joris Bouwen.
Yeah, did you get your
Joris
microphone to
Bouwen.
work? Go ahead.
I have the microphone
ahead.
on. Can you hear me?
Okay. I
I'm
can hear
Joris
you. Go ahead
Bouwen.
with your question, sir.
Yes.
Hello, Joris.
What is what is TMI? Just I hear this. I didn't just to know TMI.
Okay, TMI. TMI is something I kind of invented called, it's not too much information. Although I kind of joked about that. It's two, like the number 2 minute intention. You sit down for
Oh, okay.
you sit down for 2 minutes,
Okay.
and you start with a gong or a bell or an Incan bell or ring, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear that or not.
Yeah.
You probably can't because the computer
Yes.
the technology's got it. But then sit there for 2 minutes and receive. Eyes open, just receive what shows
Yes.
up. Receive what shows up. 2 minutes later, strike the bell again.
Okay.
That's how you do it. And then
Okay.
later on, maybe a few hours later or something, then you could sit down and maybe sit for an hour. But that TMI is meant to strengthen the intention to sit, not the sitting itself. It's just intention.
Okay.
Sit down, hold still, don't move, then get up in 2
Yeah.
minutes. Got it?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Yes.
Further questions anywhere? Maybe take one more if there is one. Yes, sir.
Earl Bowing. I feel like in the past you've said Trump or Rinpoche talk more doctrinally than you do,
Yes,
which to me is a lot more saying how things are, like this is the teachings.
yes.
Did you find that to be helpful, or?
From him?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I studied a lot of that doctrinal material. We go back to it occasionally, but a lot of it. I'm not particularly scholarly like he was. He was happened to be a meditation master and a scholar, and was trained in the Tulku tradition. He was trained as since he was a Tulku, he didn't get the title of Kempo, or didn't get like a doctorate in it, but he trained from the time he was, I think, 4 years old up until he left, I think at age 19 when he left Tibet. You can read about that in the book Born in Tibet. So I make use of that to some extent, but don't have a scholarly kind of approach to it. More?
No.
Yes, David.
David Bowing, you say don't do anything unless you have to.
Yes.
Where does have to come from, Bowing?
That's a good question. So let's just paint a little picture, make a little story about it. So you're sitting there not doing anything, and you think, my back hurts. Or you're sitting there not doing anything, and you say, I got to go to the bathroom. And then what you can say is, do I have to do that? I mean, do I have to? I have the feeling of that. My bladder, of course. But I've sat here for 4 hours having to go to the bathroom, not because I'm such a wonderful, accomplished bladder holder. I don't have any kind of credential around it. It's just the intention to do that. But you don't do it. You do it somewhat, but you don't do it so stiffly that you're trying to get, or powerfully that you're trying to get a credential from it. I think that's the first time I've ever said that. Maybe third or fourth. Have I said that before? Come on, make a fool out of me. Go ahead. I'm already a fool. So that's, I don't know if that gets close to what you're asking about. Don't do anything, so you're not doing anything. And then you notice there's something else showing up, and then you notice it's magnetizing you, it's kind of seducing you or kind of pulling on you to get you to go this way or go that way or anything, any number of things. I mean, I could make a list, but I don't need to. You would know, anyone here would know. I would say, don't do it unless you have to do it. I say sometimes don't hook up your vocal cords. My Jisha is always talking about not making small talk. That's part of her small talk. Now, she does not make small talk, so if you like to have a lot of company around, she's not particularly a good choice. She's not very conversational. Just doesn't mean that she can't talk. But then other people just talk all the time. I'm one of them. I'm always chattering about something. There was a time when I thought I should stop doing that. I don't do that anymore. I'm not concerned with how I act, how I feel. And that makes me somewhat outlandish in some ways. But that doesn't mean that I would deliberately or hurt someone and justify it by saying, well, I'm this Dharma teacher and I'm some kind of a master that I get to hurt people. I do not do that. So, but sometimes I function in such a way that I can see it's painful for people. Usually that's people that have given me permission to teach them. And so coming back to your question, I would say, I have to do that. If someone says, I want you, Sokuzan, I want to be your student and I want to be a monk, or I want to be, even just I want to be your student, then they're basically saying they want me to help them point out that what is blinding them to their Buddha nature. And sometimes that area is very sensitive. The ego does not want to be revealed or discovered or turned over, or it doesn't want to show up as somebody who's trying to be somebody, something pretentious. So if someone comes to me that way, the other thing I would say along the lines of what you seem to be asking, I might watch someone's neurosis and their bullshit for years before I say something or do anything in that direction. And it's not that I get tired of it. It's just I can see that they slowly are finding a way to cover that. Even though they meditate all the time, they've turned their meditation into a cover up where they're not going to, and it slowly gets tighter and tighter because they have an identity of how great of a meditator they are. And they're sitting in samadhi. You don't even know what samadhi is. If you think you do, this is called self-deception. Even though it's a teaching, but it's a teaching that's meant to encourage you, to magnetize you into training your mind so you'll look for samadhi. I can tell you what samadhi is, but I'm not going to. You find it. You find out what it is. See if you'll use that word. So in that case, I would say, someone shows up, I may give them a little nudge or a poke in the ribs when I see they're being pretentious. And I also invite people to come. If you think I'm being pretentious, come and get me. Been saying that for years. Come and show me where I'm full of myself or I'm arrogant or whatever. People don't want to do that. They'd rather do something else. Probably that's not such a waste of time. Oh, thumb itches?
Yes.
I don't miss much. Is your thumb itching? Don't they say that if your palm itches, you're going to get some money? You hear that? No? Is your palm itching?
Hope so.
Well, okay, I guess we're at the end of our session. Jasheen, did you have something? Or you're just bowing?
Jishin bowing. You said you don't do it when you take a vow. The vow is doing it for you.
Yes.
What is the expression of the vow doing the work for us?
You don't do anything unless you have to. So you put all the tension on it. This is called it's called discipline, and it's called a renunciation. You just don't outflow. But if you do start to outflow and you're coming out of, you're working with the vow to be with all things, save all beings, put others before yourself, you'll find yourself, because that vow takes over and you just have to be direct and honest and genuine with somebody else. Even though they cringe, they look at you and they run away. Because if you're looking for a credential of being a good guy, a nice guy, don't step on the Mahayana path. Or if you do step on it, make sure you keep a lot of concepts around you to keep you from going very far. Because the ultimate understanding is without a self. And if you're here and you're actually serving all beings, some of those people are not going to be happy with the way you function. This doesn't give you the right, or me the right, or anyone the right to do whatever you want. It's like you're not doing anything. There isn't anyone to do anything. There's just the vow. Save all beings, put others before yourself. Start right now and have that intention forever. Never ends. Thank you so much. We can